So imagine if we replaced the word aging with
Mhm.
the word learning. Imagine. Yes, I'm
Mm.
learning. Yes,
Oh
I'm
my gosh, I
continuing
love
to
that
learn.
so much.
I'm continuing to learn. Yes, I'm learning more and more now every day. I'm learning, learning,
Mhm.
learning. Because that's actually one of the ways that you stay alive is by
Yes.
learning. Yes, there are genetics at play. Yes, there's lots of other things at play. And I want to acknowledge some privilege in this conversation because there are people that have other things that work against them that really do age them much more quickly, whether it's
Yes.
economic, financial, whether it's medical. I mean, there are things that get in the way.
So, Jenny and I had great plans for today to talk about attunement disruptors, which we will eventually on a different episode. But as we were talking, a really important topic came up, which was that of our societal attitudes around aging and our attitudes around our body around aging. So we really wanted to unpack this whole idea about anti aging and get into what is pro aging. So let's roll.
So, my favorite topic, aging. It actually is because, as someone who thankfully is aging, see, now, most people don't say thankfully, do they? But I thankfully am aging because what's my alternative, right? I mean, it's not very
Right.
exciting. So I am thankful to be aging, and I'm aware that I'm doing it in a society that works against aging every minute of its existence. There are cultural pieces here. There are cultures that we know that really honor aging and honor how they treat those that are aging. And it's interesting that as a result, those people age more gracefully. And in our society, we sort of throw some people away. They're not useful anymore based on, in large part, do they think fast enough? Do they speak fast enough? Do they look young enough?
Mhm. Do they look young enough? It is such a big thing, and it's something, I'm in this world of body image and food peace and body peace for a long time because that's my story of being at war with my body. And I feel good. I feel truly at home in my body. The place I can get really triggered is when there's this idea of, oh, so you're that age now. Well, you better do this filler and not have any wrinkles and use this cream. And gosh, your hair is silver. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe that ages your face a little bit. There's so much. It's like a $80 billion industry, anti-aging coming at us.
Well, this is interesting too, because there's an overlap with something else. In a former life, I was extremely involved in the world of what we now call integrative medicine. And I still think it has extraordinary value in the right context at the right time with the right practitioners. But it really started with life extension.
Yes, the longevity business.
Right. But there was specifically this book called Life Extension, which was by Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw. I don't even know if they're still alive. They're probably 112 now. But this was back in, early 80s, we'll say. And it really sort of launched an entire way of thinking. Now, some of it is useful scientifically, this whole idea of, free radicals and the way in which we look at disease has shifted. And so it's useful in that way. But what it also launched was this idea that our jobs now were to make sure that we didn't age, or that if we were going
Yes.
to age, that we age well, whatever that means.
Well, we were supposed to hack the body such that there was no passage of time that would show up on our actual face, on our actual corporeal experience.
How many times have any of us said to someone like, "God, you don't look that age. You look so great. You look so great for that
Yes.
age." From where I sit, all ages look great.
Yeah.
because I have lost so many people in my life
Yeah.
who could have lived in easily another 20, 25 years and didn't. And so when I think of it in those terms, I'll take every day I can get. I'm embracing the idea of age, right? But I'm also aware that I'm going to age in this world, in this society. And, there are ways in which there are industries that embrace aging in a way we wish they didn't, right? Notice where all the assisted living facilities are now being built, right? They're being built mostly near hospitals, near rehab.
Yes.
They're being built by all the new condo developments as if the idea is when you're finished over here, please come over here.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Staged care, right? Levels of care. This idea that, you start in a place that's like has a gym and you end up in a place where there's memory care.
Now, by the way, that could happen, right? And if it opens up an entire discussion about privilege, by the way, because there are people that can afford for that transition to happen, and there are people that can't. And
Yeah.
for the ones that can't, that's a very sad thing. There's a lot of burden that falls on family if there is any, and if God forbid they don't have family, well, their fate is bleak. Um,
Yeah.
but this idea that we live in a world that is about not aging, and it's so counterintuitive. And yet, you and I kid around all the time. We're setting up the cameras before we get onto the podcast, and I'm always thinking like, "Oh, can I somehow, like, reduce this neck of mine a little bit before we get on air?" That's just sort of societal training. The truth is, if
Yes.
I looked at my neck the way the rings on a tree are, right? When we look at the rings on a tree, it tells us how the tree is aging, right? It tells us how old it is, how wise it is. Wisdom is the thing here, that we have
Yeah.
wisdom to impart. Even idiots have wisdom to impart if they've lived for.
If they've lived long enough, they've had some life experience. One of my favorite studies in all of this is Becca Levy, who wrote the book Breaking the Age Code, and she talks about that it's not losing weight, it's not even quitting smoking, it's not reducing your blood pressure that gives us longevity. It's actually a pro-aging attitude. It's this attitude that aging is a good thing, and fundamentally in our culture, that's not what we're getting. We're getting that aging is a bad thing, and it's only a good thing if you look like Martha Stewart, who's able to pose for Swimsuit Magazine, Sports Illustrated by the time when they're what, 80? When she was 80? Absolutely good for her. But again, it's this idea that we only get to be seen and visible and contribute and feel like a valued member of our society if we don't look our age. Whatever that means, if we don't look like we're getting older, if we try to fit into this culture that says young is powerful and old is not.
Well, now young is not only powerful, young is fast. You have to be able to type fast, speak fast, do everything quickly because you're also living in the world of social media where you have
Yeah.
about 7 seconds to impress or not impress, right? And so our brains are literally working differently. The expectations have changed. I'm aware of it just as a clinician, right? As a therapist, that it takes something to keep people's attention because our brains are actually changing in some ways, some for the better, some not for the better, because of the speed at which we're all operating. And some of the wisdom of aging is to slow it all the hell down.
But it gets into this whole idea even of GLP-1s. Quick, let's lose weight fast. And that's not new in the world of weight loss, right? There's been the 7 pounds in 7 days model forever. But again, there's this idea like we have to do everything quickly. One of the movements that I love the most in terms of cooking is the slow cooking movement. It's not instant. It's going to take a while. You're at a restaurant that says, we subscribe to the slow cooking movement. We're actually going to be sitting there for a while someone actually makes your food.
Imagine. Imagine.
Imagine.
I mean, don't get me started on the idea of fast food. That's another episode.
Yeah. But to bring together some of these issues of this idea of we are getting old, and what does that look like? How do we have a pro-aging perspective? And how can the pro-aging perspective impact how we feel in our body so that we're not feeling like, oh, if we don't look like we're still 18, then we don't have a right to speak. And then we lose a lot of wisdom in our culture because women who don't feel good in their body become less connected and isolate more, which then puts them behind the eight ball because one of the other big studies from the Rossetto effect, which is a small town in the US, where social cohesion was shown to have an incredible impact on heart health, right? When we're together, when we're in community, when we have people, when we show up for social things, that actually supports our sense of well being.
Right. Now, you could be listening to this and thinking, well, that's nice, but I'm shy, I'm introverted, I'm neurodiverse, however you want to put it. And, the idea of being with a lot of people is hard for me. That's okay. Communities can be large and small. There's a book called Outlive. I'm sure most have come across it. And, one of the basic tenets there is that one of the most common parts of aging well, it's not even just aging, but aging well is to have community, is to have people that you can count on. It's family, it's friends, it's geographical, it's, even if it's just a community that shares your interest. By the way, it can also be a virtual community, but just the idea that you're connected in some way to other people.
Jenny, I have to interrupt because it's very tricky. I just had a client who said, I just went home and I thought I would have this experience of home being her hometown where there was aunts and uncles and everything. And she said, I thought I would have this experience, basically what she was describing of social cohesion and connection. And she said, mostly I just got fat shamed. And she's in, a body that is in the realm of what we consider in our society a small body, and one of the first things that somebody said to her was, "Wow, you got so skinny before, but now you've gained weight and it looks like you've gained a lot of weight." And she was like, "Wait, how did I end up like in looking for connection and then feeling bad about myself?" So when we're talking about social cohesion, where's the and what is it?
Well, I also might have left a word out of there, which is chosen. You have to have a chosen community. I feel for the person that you're talking about, right? Because that's obviously a family unit or a group of people that were completely steeped in diet culture, and I have great compassion for every one of them. And your community has to be a chosen community. If that happens to be people that share your DNA, that's great. And if it doesn't, then it's people that hopefully share your trust, that share your interests, have your interests at heart.
Yeah.
Chosen family, chosen people. I mean, that's an important part of it. Now, how do you go about choosing? Well, that's going to be based on how you see yourself, and that's going to be based on your self-esteem, right? So your community starts to reflect back to you your values and how you feel about you. So it's a little bit of a stunning moment, right? You wanna make sure that you are your own best friend, that you are your advocate first, despite what you look like, despite whether you think you're aging well, not aging well, just the idea of aging is to be embraced because it is inevitable. I mean, at least we hope it is. That's the point, right? Yeah.
It is, but also in that sense of community and chosen connection is we're choosing models for ourselves, right? And when we grow up in a culture where the people in the elder generation were kind of tucked away or diminished, that became a model that the only way to have a sense of autonomy and power was to be young and fast. Versus if you're in a community or there's a model of somebody who is getting older, who is very vocal, who's very visible, who's willing to be seen. I often think of my mom is 93, right? Talk about a model for aging. Unbelievable human. And one of the things, a few years ago, in the land of selfies, I always take pictures when we're together. And a few years ago, she started saying this thing was so compelling. I would take a picture, and like I do with many friends, I'd show it to them and go, "Is that okay? Do you like that picture?" And she started saying to me, "I'm in it, so it's great."
Oh, gosh. Wow.
And that's the attitude, right? For me, I have been modeled a pro aging attitude. Thank goodness I am here in this body, in this life, having the experience that I'm having, especially when we know that that doesn't happen for everybody. To be in, like, yes, I am in the picture.
Such a beautiful thought. I wanna bring into this idea of stress and how it affects the body because, I'm a big believer that and the facts bear it out, that when we are under stress, whether it's internalized, whether it's external, whatever the sources are, that we secrete stress hormones in response to that. It's the whole fight or flight or flee, and
Mhm.
we're in that state so often, including how we terrorize ourselves with thoughts about how we think we look or how we think we should look. So there we are trying to age gracefully. And one of the things that's aging us is our thoughts about how we're not aging gracefully, right? You got to see the comedy in this, right? I could age more gracefully if I would
Right.
simply embrace this idea that of course I'm going to continue to age, hopefully for as long as I can. And by the way, I'd like to do it well, not meaning how do I look. I'd like to do it in a healthy way, in a way where I can remain active and mobile and do all the things that I've always done and not have it be a big deal.
Well, but there's a couple of things that you're saying in there, right? All like I want to be active and mobile, and it's very specific, right? I have very specific idea how I want to be in my life, which is very different than let me get let me lose weight so I am healthy, right? Those are all shortcuts from things that are much deeper and much more powerful when we get specific. I want to walk a little more so that I stay mobile. I want to be outside every day so that my nervous system calms down from being in nature. So we're talking specifically about how do I support pro aging. But there was one thing you said. You said, so I can keep doing what I've always done. Here comes the grief in our relationship with our body and the grief that comes in to aging. And it's real, and we need to acknowledge grief. I know we've done a whole episode on grief.
Yes.
It is very much something we walk with, whether we're 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, or we're 20 and we sprain our ankle because bummer, my body is not acting in the way that I want it to act. And that's sad. And I have grief. And my body is not conforming, performing, doing what I want it to do. And so to be in this place of saying, yeah, being a human, hmm, not so easy, sometimes really hard.
It's not easy. And, so much of it has to do with verbiage, right? So we use the word old. I hate that word because the word is older. Right? Minute we label something as old, it's almost like, well, and now it's reached its peak and that's it. We're done
Yeah.
now.
Well, that's how we actually pivoted into this whole episode today because we were talking about attunement disruptors. Then somehow we got talking about old, and you were like, no.
Right. And that's the point. See, older is how you know you're alive. It's a state of being. And you are always older by seconds, by minutes, by decades. When you say, "Well, I'm old," okay, either you really have your ego in place and you're just embracing that, or it sounds almost like a death sentence. "Well, I'm old now."
Yeah. Well, it's static.
Right, it's static, right. That's the point,
It's
yeah.
static. It puts us in it's like the end of a sentence. Well, okay, then what's that's the end of your life? Versus being somebody who evolves. And it's something that I've seen in people in my life, are the people who are getting older and who are also willing to embrace change and evolution and personal expansion as they age and as they have different experiences, that creates pro-aging. That creates, wow, life is a never-ending life lesson experience. Life is never-ending growth versus you're old and that's the end.
So imagine if we replaced the word aging with
Mhm.
the word learning. Imagine. Yes, I'm
Mm.
learning. Yes,
Oh
I'm
my gosh, I
continuing
love
to
that
learn.
so much.
I'm continuing to learn. Yes, I'm learning more and more now every day. I'm learning, learning,
Mhm.
learning. Because that's actually one of the ways that you stay alive. Is by
Yes.
learning. Yes, there are genetics at play. Yes, there's lots of other things at play. And I want to acknowledge some privilege in this conversation because there are people that have other things that work against them that really do age them much more quickly, whether it's
Yes.
economic, financial, whether it's medical. I mean, there are things that get in the way,
Yeah.
but really it's about learning, not just, becoming older. It's
Yeah.
learning. And, you know, this whole idea of wisdom is such,
When you were saying learning, 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 we learn, 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 and then what do we have? We have wisdom.
also not a finite thing, but we have
Right.
moments of wisdom, right? We have moments of wisdom.
Moments of stupidity, but moments of wisdom. Hopefully more of the wisdom.
That too, that too. So I want to just relate this a little bit more to, how we see ourselves in our own bodies.
Mhm.
I cannot tell you how many people I come across literally every day, both professionally and personally, who say this sentence. Yeah, but if I lose weight, don't you think that will make me live longer? Well, sure. I I would believe that if I was involved in the diet industry, if I was misguided in the medical industry, I would say yes. Hear this loudly and hear this clearly. The size of your body is not going to determine the length of your life. What could determine the length of your life is how much stress you put yourself under about your perceptions about the size of your body. What could put your life in danger is whether the medical community in which you work in and play in and exist in also has prejudice about your body size, because then you will not be treated the way you need to be treated. And all bodies are meant to move. All bodies are meant to move,
Mhm.
no matter what your limitations, no matter what your size, no matter what your age. And if you keep your body moving, you keep the joints greased, you keep everything in motion.
Yeah.
And that to me is a much bigger determiner of the quality of life that you're going to have than your body size.
Yeah. And let me give you some statistics on this.
Oh,
I'm
please, we love
clearly a
statistics.
Becca Levy fan, but this is a quote. She said, I was able to determine that age beliefs, right? So age beliefs, we're talking pro-aging. Age beliefs were determining their lifespan above and beyond the influence of gender, race, socioeconomic status, age, loneliness, and health. Age beliefs stole or added almost 8 years to their lives, conferring an even better survival advantage than low cholesterol or low blood pressure. Both added 4 years, or low body mass index, right? That's losing weight, which added 1 year, or avoiding smoking, which added 3 years, right? So when people come to us and go, look, I got to lose weight because that's what's going to make me healthy.
Mhm.
What's gonna make us healthy, and I'm putting a healthy in quotes. I don't love the term healthy. I think it's more of a sense of well-being. It's misused a lot, and we need to really define for ourselves what is healthy. Is it vital? Is it movement? Is it agility? Like what is it exactly? But if what I want is a sense of strength and vitality and well-being, the way I'm gonna get that actually is in my relationship with my body, not by managing my body, not by putting myself on another restrictive diet, which will then, of course, swing back to bite me in the butt, right? Because then I'm going to wonder what the heck happened? Why am I binging? Can I not stop nibbling? So to really lean in.
There's not only the emotional aspects of what you're talking about, but just physically. It's worth saying out loud 1,000 times that the body suffers when you cycle weights. That
Yeah,
whatever your body weight is, for God's sake, just stay there. Because the idea seriously, the idea of losing and gaining 50, 60, 80 pounds, over 10 times in your lifetime, that is much more deleterious
yeah,
than anything else.
yeah,
So just hang in there, stay where you are, be a strong body. See, that's the thing. It's about being strong in whatever ways you define strength. Is it physical
yeah,
strength? Is it emotional strength? Is it both? Is it just academic strength? Whatever makes you feel strong. I'll round this out by just saying that, and it's probably a reflection of my age, the word that I am most reactive to these days is this word called retirement. What does that even mean? I don't understand. Like, I have a brain fart. I don't I don't know what it means. Because, first of all, if you have interests, if you have passion, if some of them happen to be career related, if some of them happen to be otherwise related, what does
mhm.
retirement mean? I'm just going to stop and do nothing now?
Right, but retirement to me, I've already processed it as something different. Retirement is a financial word. Retirement is a financial status of, I am no longer working for this company, now I get to collect my pension from there. Or I have stopped this way of earning and now I am doing this other thing. And this idea that we retire as humans, I think it has to actually be taken out of the realm of our relationship with life and
Mm.
just relegated. If you want to talk about retirement, great. It's a financial status. Okay, great. You have retired. Now you get to collect Social Security or you're doing, a side hustle, whatever you're doing. But let's take it out of this idea that we as humans retire from life. We don't. It's the opposite.
I think the key phrase, and maybe this is sort of like the takeaway for today. The key phrase for aging well is what's next? What's next? That's the
Mm,
learning. What's next? What's
I
next?
love that.
Whether it's in terms of relationships, whether it's in terms of the next book you want to read, whether it's the next project you take on, the next trip you want to take if you're able, whatever that may be, what's next? Because, I really believe that if you're too busy, you can't die. You just can't die when you're busy. There's no time. So, keep yourself busy and just what's next? What's on the agenda?
I love that. I love that. Well, that's the perfect place to end. So, thank you,
Thank you,
Jenny,
my
for
friend.
another juicy conversation. And thank you to all of you who are listening to us.